Let's take a look at this old school. I call that old school because it's so small. I've had this thing forever. Film leader retriever. And what I liked about this is it's extremely small size, small footprint, and a lot of what you see today available is large. And so the beauty of this is that I could put it in a film canister, just like that. Put the lid on, store that in your camera bag. So as you can see, extremely thin, and it came apart like this, slid back and forth. And this is how you would pull the leader of the film out of the canister. Now there's several reasons for doing that. If you were going to develop the film for yourself, which I never did, but you would do that so you wouldn't have to cut the canister open. You could do that in a dark room. But what I did, what I used it for, is there's a lot of times I might be using, say, this ISO 100 film, and I always kept track of how, I always had a written paper in my camera bag for each roll. I would number the roll if I had multiple rolls, and then number the paper so I knew what I was photographing and what the exposure was. I always liked to write exposure, so everything I did was like 99% manual. So now let's say I've got a roll of 36. This is 24. Say I had a roll of 36 or even a 24, and I had used 10. And now for some reason I need to go to a higher ISO. What I could do is put the film back into the canister, re-roll it, put it in there all the way. And what would happen is anytime I put this in the camera, I always had, it always pulled out. I went to a specific spot on that camera. It was always the same, and I always advanced it the same amount of times to get to the first frame. So that was always a given. And so that being the case, when I would, and I'll give a demonstration here, but when I would put this back into the camera, get the roll, put it back in, after I've pulled the leader out, I would always go the same process, and if I had 10 used, I'd advance it to the 11th and then go to 12. So I would miss one picture, and I've never ever had a problem doing it that way. So here's what you would do. You'd stick this closed into the film canister, and you'd put it up there like that. Then you see this little tab where that pushes in here. You'd hold that and pull that out. So now it looks just like this. Now the next thing you would do is you would rotate this, and then you would listen. Sometimes you can also feel it. You'd turn this, okay, now you heard that click. Now you know you're in position to pull that leader out. And the next thing you would do is close it, just like that, and then you would give it a quick pull. And there you are. Now that leader's out, and as I said, when you pulled this across, and this is in your camera, no matter what Nikon, I always had well, f2, f3, two f4s, and one f5. It always went to the same spot for each given camera. Then I closed the back, then I advanced it to 1, and then with the lens cap off or on so that you don't get in, then I would just use a high shutter speed, advance it. So if there were 10 frames, I'd advance it 10 plus 1, 11, and then go to 12. And so that's what I would use this for, and it allowed me to change film midstream for whatever purpose I would be required. Sometimes I'm shooting slide, then sometimes I'd have to go to a film, and this allowed me to do that and still not ruin the rest of the exposures that were still on there. And you know, I don't know who the manufacturer is. I wish I knew, but I've got several of these, but nothing to state who made them. And I haven't seen anything like this. I don't know if you can even still buy them this small. And like I said, the beauty of it is right here.